Welcome. Thank you all for coming this evening for our one acts. And to give you a little bit of background information behind the project and what you're seeing this evening. About a year ago, over a year ago, Tom came in and did some work with us in helping our freshman students last year write one act. And I said, we absolutely have to have you back to help with some sort of project with your skills as a playwright. And I said, please, please, and that's about as far as I had to go. And we said, let's do something different that we've never tried before and challenging.
Essentially what we did, we turned it back on the students and we asked them what you want to do or what they wanted to do. We asked them, we went through a couple different ideas and we came up with this documentary drama idea. So what the kids did is they went out and they conducted their interviews. We asked them to do 7 interviews apiece. They came back with 154 interviews. We had to get it down to 18. So there was over 20, almost 24 hours of documentary material that we had to go through to get it to what you're going to see tonight. What you are going to see tonight is definitely a work in progress. Scripts take a long time to develop, months, sometimes years. And so this is definitely in process. We're very proud of where we're at with the script, and we hope that you enjoy it and see it as an experiment, the experimental nature that it is. So.
And with that being said, if you have cell phones on you at this time, please kindly make sure they don't make noise. And try to keep them away for the next hour and 15 minutes to not distract. And also, please, no flash photography. Without further ado, the Catwalk Theater Company proudly presents
No.
Now, as we delve into the theory of chaos, we are met with the ever-challenging question of order versus disorder, versus the order within disorder and vice versa. This relationship is binding, and as a result, we are all agents of chaos. In chaos theory, strange attractors are the patterns revealed by the order inherent in chaos. A chaotic system wanders wildly, never repeating itself. Each behavior is new and unpredictable. Moment to moment, the system is free to experiment. In organizations, clear identity is an unmistakable and certain call.
I met with a 46-year-old male, husband and father of 4. Aside from general awkwardness, there is little to be said about this first interview. How has your family affected your confidence and identity?
Well, now that I have a family, that is my identity, of being a parent. I don't feel like I need to do anything else. When I found out, I was scared and excited, and I had a little self-doubt. I found out when I met my wife, and we knew we wanted to start a family. We met through my cousin in King Super's parking lot for a blind date. We went to her house and we played Trivial Pursuit. I was excited and nervous, but felt better as the night went on. I was 20 when we met.
How do you feel others classify you as a member of this community?
Someone who helps out in the neighborhood or goes to church.
Never, and it is only my duty to the universe that I state never. Has the theory of chaos been proven or related to a layman in an understandable manner? To do so is a choice of trickery and deceit. I warn that although chaos may be experienced and understood as a concept, to find order within disorder is only next to impossible merely for the simple fact that we do not contain the proper mathematical know-how to expose the dense intricacies of the nature of this subject matter.
A simple stroke of a pen or pencil can be broken down into the grains of material which make up ink or lead. These grains come together to form a line, which is essentially millions of dots placed together.
Melody is pretty, but harmony makes a symphony.
Do you think what other people think of you could have something to do with the way they think of themselves?
That's sort of cliche, but I don't really think that way. I mean, I think something just sets them off.
How do you feel others classify you as a member of the community?
I feel like a quiet, smart person who's used for answers.
What have you gathered about yourself?
The ability to show my true likings and such.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I would love to be accepted by the others more. It would make me feel more part of the group I am around the most.
What have you gathered about yourself?
About not always being good enough.
What barriers hold you back from being yourself?
I mean, obviously peer pressure in people. Like everyone that you were around with on a daily basis. There aren't really any physical tastes. Mostly just people that you know that you might have to change with already.
Not really. Most of the time, I'm myself.
In a nutshell, the theory of chaos is commonly referred to as the butterfly effect. Chaos theory is a field of study in mathematics, physics, and philosophy, studying the behavior of dynamical systems that are highly sensitive to the initial conditions. In other words, the deterministic nature of a particular system does not make the system predictable. This behavior is known as deterministic chaos, or simply chaos. You see, chaotic behavior can be observed in many natural systems, such as the weather. Confused yet? Try this. Imagine a butterfly flaps its wings once, thus causing a ripple effect eventually culminating into a hurricane on the opposite hemisphere. Just a small change in the initial conditions can drastically change the long-term behavior of the system. Chaos is constantly surrounding us. We as individuals are part of the system, society. And this system informs us. However, we have an equal effect on the system itself. Through a series of mathematic principles, we can determine that what we do affects the world around us, thus affecting the other people in our system. Society.
Math? You can prove anything with math. So what?
It's not the individual instrument, but the overwhelming power of a system that makes music.
Have you ever viewed yourself as better than anyone else, and why?
No, because I focus on myself.
Okay. What do you think is worse? Insecurities about your inner or outer self?
Outer self, because it's what everyone sees.
How do you define yourself in regards to being closed or open-minded?
Open-minded because I love having an input and I'm going to give it no matter what.
What is more important to you, inner or outer beauty?
Inner beauty.
Do you think that what people think of you could have something to do with what they think of themselves?
Maybe.
Why?
I haven't really thought about it. I apologize.
How do you feel others classify you as a member of this community?
Well, it's nice to feel like you belong to something and it's something that you automatically belong to as long as you change the community. It's just nice to feel like you belong.
I feel like I'm seen as a leader.
I sit down with a female teenager, a junior. She's an only child and has only her father.
What have you doubted about yourself?
Whenever there's someone around that I know is better than me at something, I sometimes doubt myself because I might compare myself to them.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be and why?
I would probably try to live life better and do more of my life. And I know that there is stuff that I haven't done that I still want to do or could be doing. I guess to really live, you have to do everything possible that you want to do, not necessarily everything that you have to do.
How has the media influenced or shaped you?
I don't know. It's not like the normal magazine stuff. It's more like the bad stuff that you see on TV. And that makes you think. Well, and it's not just the bad stuff that makes you think. And that's good because you're aware of your surroundings and everything.
How does that change what you do every day? Or how would you be different if there was no media?
So, I know you have your family and your friends that affect you, and you have the media. And it's not that I don't try to let it affect me, but it just does. But if it didn't affect me, I would probably be a lot more open and available to new ideas and stuff like that.
What characteristics in other people make you jealous?
Well, pretty much anything that they're better than me in it, smarter or prettier, something that I want and I don't have. I think it's pretty much a human emotion to want what you don't have. There are just certain times where I'm like, well, it'd be nice if I don't have to be taller or something.
Which do you think
is worse? Insecurities about your inner or outer self?
Definitely your inner self, because you don't think from the outside in, you think from the inside out. If something affected your mind, then it would manipulate you to change your outside, and it goes like that. It doesn't go the other way around.
Well, how do you define yourself in regards to being closed or open-minded?
Well, I know I'm not as open-minded as I could be. I know there are more things I could be more open to, and I think being closed-minded can be dangerous because it keeps you from seeing what there really is to offer. But if you're open-minded, then you're going to get taken advantage of, so I guess it's good to have a balance between the two.
Well, what's more important to you, inner or outer beauty?
Inner. For the same reason as before, like with the insecurities. Like, it's always from the inside out. And if you're insecure about yourself, it's because you know something has gone wrong with your inner self, because that's where it stems from.
What's made you make that decision?
Because you're in school for so long, and I guess you just train yourself to think that maybe it doesn't matter, but that's just how you deal with it.
Have you ever viewed yourself as better than anyone else? And why?
I think everyone has at some point in their life. Like, it could even be something really small, but it just takes your own judgment to say whether or not you know you're better. And if you say you're better, but you know deep down that you're not, there's a problem. I've never really felt like I was a better person than anyone else.
How do you feel others classify you as a member of this community?
I feel they classify me as a lesbian. I wear a rainbow wristband to school, and I wear band t-shirts, and I don't really care what people think of me.
An overweight Mexican who's a midget.
What have you doubted about yourself?
My happiness. And the fact that my happiness, I don't know if I'll ever truly be happy. I don't want to be an overweight midget because then people won't look at me weird.
But I won't be accepted as a member of this community because I have a different sexual preference than others.
If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be and why?
I like me. I'm okay with me. Sometimes it's hard to make friends and fit in, but I wouldn't change it. It's made me strong.
What barriers hold you back from being yourself?
Me caring what people think and that I'll get mocked or ridiculed or something like that. People probably think I'm weird, and that holds me back from being myself.
How has your family affected your confidence/identity?
My mom and dad don't accept it, and my brother's in his own little world. My mom kicked me out when she found out I was bisexual, so I had to move with my dad. He's never really home, so he didn't really care about me. My brother's sort of the golden child of the family. It's whatever. I can't wait to graduate.
My family affects my confidence a lot because they are constantly telling me that I need to lose weight. And just last night, they told me I'm an F-up. That I need to get my life together. When I thought my life was together, they had to come in and tell me I'm an F-up. And then Grandma started reading the Bible.
How has the media influence shaped you?
I want things I know I'll never have.
Media depicts people with different sexual preferences to be all the same. And we're not. Some of us are the same, and some of us are farthest from the spectrum.
What characteristics in other people make you jealous?
Outgoingness. I'm afraid to reach out to people because I know I'll probably get rejected. I've learned.
I want to be skinny. And I look at the skinny girls and I want to be like them. And then for lunch I go and eat 3 glazed donuts, macaroni and cheese, and a bag of popcorn. I'm a stress eater, can't you tell?
Which is worse, insecurities about your inner or outer self?
Outer self. Because if you have no pride on the inside, then you look bad on the outside, and then you're just insecure on both.
Inner self. Mostly because if you want, you can fix the outer insecurities.
How do you define yourself in regards to being closed or open-minded?
I'm pretty open-minded. I go with the flow, nothing really bothers me, unless asked to do with snakes or rats.
I like to consider myself to be open-minded, but I can't let my guard down, you know? Like, I'm not the type of person to see things for what they're not. I don't know, maybe I am close-minded. I don't know.
Which is more important to you, inner or outer beauty?
Inner beauty. Because if you have no inner beauty, nobody can see the real you. Like, even if you're butt ugly, you might have a beautiful soul and heart.
Inner beauty. It is very important, but it's too bad you have to look through the outer beauty to get to the inner beauty. Most people don't look past the outside at first glance. Sometimes they match, sometimes they don't.
Do you think that what other people think of you could have something to do with what they think of themselves?
Oh, duh. If you look at someone and you think they're like rude or something like that for no apparent reason, then you probably have some issues going on, like you think you're ugly or whatever.
I think that it does, because if people are trying to bring me down, it's just their insecurities coming out.
Just
One
last
question.
Have you ever viewed yourself as better than anyone else?
I have.
Yeah, I have.
Why?
Because money doesn't make the world go round.
In the beginning, there was Gaia, mother of the earth and creator of all things good and balanced. However, there was also chaos, a chasm of formless pain and suffering. The two met in the middle, becoming a harmoniously balanced dualistic entity. I suppose we see it as the yin and the yang. You see, we may not like chaos in our lives. We may not want chaos in our lives. But we need chaos in our lives.
Chaos? Let's talk family dynamics.
Female, a junior in high school. What is your definition of family?
Someone who loves you and supports you. Like for sporting events, they're always there cheering me on.
How does your home life affect your school?
Well, not much. We have things that are different from school, work, but that's really it. I mean, it might not be very different if I hadn't had to repeat the 4th grade. I mean, I get so annoyed by people, asking me the story of if I repeated and all of that stuff, but I just get around it by basing my mind on other things.
What is your relationship like with your parents?
Really good. We argue sometimes, but mostly we get along really well. Some good times I've had with my family are just sitting around talking, watching movies, or playing games.
When was the last time that you had a problem but didn't tell your family, and why?
When there was this drama going around that I was dating this one guy, but we really weren't. I mean, I just told people that it was wrong and tried to ignore it. I guess I didn't really want to tell my family because I wanted to spare myself from the lecture and all that.
Why does everyone think that their family is strange?
Well, my family has a weird last name and it's kind of hard to pronounce, but I don't know why anyone else would think their family's weird.
How does your family's line of authority work?
With grades, like good grades. If I got a D or an F, my parents would ground me.
When your parents fight, how do you gauge your reaction for the rest of the day?
I control my reaction and base my mind on other things. If it makes me sad or disappointed, but sometimes I just realize that I'm really lucky to live with the family I'm living with right now.
When was the time when you most enjoyed the company of your family?
Just sitting around, talking about our day. It's good to have family time. Like the one time when my dad, my friend, and I went skiing, and then we all came back and ate dinner in our green room and just talked.
What are some distractions that keep you from your perfect family?
We're all like trying to find out where to go for trips, or how to raise money for trips, or school, or, you know, just being away. When I have sleepovers, I just know they're thinking about me, though.
How might your family play favorites?
Like with grades, or how many times our friends invite us over and all of that.
How would your family react if you or a sibling revealed their homosexuality?
Surprised and shocked. I would get past it by defending myself and letting my sister know that I love and accept her. I'd be really scared if it happened with one of my parents. I would just have to talk to them about it and base my mind on other things like doing homework and stuff like that.
Have you ever had to take over for your parents, and if so, what was the outcome?
Mostly, if ever, just when my parents are out for the night, my sister wants me to take her over to a friend's house or something. If my parents were out of the picture, I would be so scared. I don't know how to take care of my sister. I would have to rely on my friends who know better how to take care of her.
In other words, think of this as the idea that a butterfly's wings might create tiny changes in the atmosphere that may ultimately alter the path of a hurricane, or delay, or accelerate, or even prevent the hurricane of even occurring in a certain location. The flapping wing represents a small change in the initial condition of the system, which causes a chain of events leading to a large-scale chain of events. Think of how dominoes fall. Had the butterfly not flapped its wings, the trajectory of the system might have been vastly different. While the butterfly does not cause the energy for the hurricane in the sense of giving it all of its energy, it does cause it in the sense that the flap of its wing is an essential part of the initial conditions, resulting in a hurricane. Without that flap, that particular hurricane would not have existed.
What's your relationship like with your parents?
Good. Nothing extraordinary. It's mom and dad, you know. There's this one time I was failing in class. I didn't want to be grounded for it, but they eventually found out and I ended up totally grounded. Oh well.
Why is every family considered strange?
I don't know. I guess they don't see the inside story of a home, and so when they see this idea of perfect, they analyze their family and think, why isn't my family like this?
How many are in your family?
Mom, dad, both brothers, and me.
And when your parents fight?
I'll like get over it. They always do, so I don't really let it phase me. At least I try not to let it.
When was the last time you most enjoyed the company of your family?
Thanksgiving, every year. It's all family, and I just love it so much.
What are distractions that keep you from your perfect family?
Just not doing family stuff, like things as simple as vacations. Or not spending time with each other.
How would your family react if you or sibling revealed your homosexuality?
They'd be accepting. I hope. I mean, they would. Maybe. Does your family pick favorites? I don't really think they do. Even when one of us on the better or worse side, they still love us and treat us equal all the time.
Have you ever had to take over for your parents?
No, but my older brother did. He used to babysit me all the time when my parents had to go out. It's fun though, because we're not that far apart.
This is, we'll call her Courtney. She's 56. What's your definition of family?
Family. Well, people who love each other immensely.
What's your relationship like with your parents?
Well, my home life was very strict as a child. I was the oldest of 6 kids on a farm, and my mother always kept me in either to help cook or to help with everyone else. Homework was my only way out if I wanted a break, although my relationship has been very close with them. My mother still calls every Saturday night to talk with me, and it never fails.
When was the last time that you had a problem and didn't tell anyone?
When I was younger and in my first marriage, I didn't want to tell them that my husband was cheating on me. I didn't want to seem weak or stupid.
Why does everyone think their family is strange?
Because no one's family is alike. If kids go to their friend's house, they only see a moment of their family and think it's perfect. And when they try to compare that to their own, it just kills them.
And when your parents would fight?
Well, you have to understand, my father always wore the pants. He was up with the roosters and down with the sun, and he made all of us do the same. If my parents ever fought, it would just be about me and my siblings were working too hard. She would think we were working too hard, and he would explode saying no, that it was good for us and for her to stay in her own business. It really wasn't too surprising.
When was the last time you enjoyed the company of your family?
I loved it when my brother and sister and I would all go down to this creek on the edge of our farm, and we'd try to catch crawdads or fish or frogs. Those days were always having fun.
What are distractions that keep you from that perfect family?
I don't think a perfect family is really achievable, but I think what I have right now is pretty close.
Does your family play favorites?
I know for a fact, and it kills me that I was a favorite. All my sisters and brother got really treated the same, but I was the oldest, so the most was expected of me. All my other siblings had to follow in my footsteps, and I don't think I liked it all that much.
How would your family react if you or a sibling revealed their homosexuality?
Oh, badly. My father was a strict military man, and he would have none of that.
Have you ever had to take over for your parents?
All the time. I was the oldest, remember? I had all these responsibilities until I was child.
This is, let's say, Daniel, a high school student. What is your definition of family?
A family is a group of people who love and care for each other, so much that they're willing to do anything for each other. You don't have to be related. Like, I think our theater community is a good example of a family. We may hate each other sometimes, but for the most part, we want each other to succeed. How does your home life affect your school?
Well, my mom had me before she finished high school, and now I live with my grandma. It was really hard to see her doing like the 5 different jobs she did because of it. I want to graduate high school because I don't think I could handle that amount of stress. What is your relationship like with your parents?
I consider my grandparents more of my parents. I never met my dad, so my grandpa is the closest I have, and I'm lucky if I see my mom once a month.
If you don't mind me asking, why didn't you meet your dad?
Well, him and my mom tried to make it when she told him I was pregnant. I guess they were doing pretty good, and then until I was born. He came to the hospital and he held me, and then we've never heard from him since. Well, when was the time you had a problem but didn't tell your family, and why?
Well, I don't really keep secrets from my family. It's the secrets inside my family that I keep from the rest of the world. Why does everyone think their family is strange?
I think because there isn't a real definition of family. I mean, people see families on TV and try to achieve that in their home, and it just doesn't happen. No one's perfect. We all have flaws. How does your family's line of authority work?
Well, I know in mine, my grandma wears the pants, but I think it's really who has the backbone. When your parents fight, how do you gauge your reaction for the rest of the day?
My grandparents never really fight. They get in arguments, but I think they've been together so long that nothing really phases them anymore. What was the time you most enjoyed the company of your family?
Well, I love it when we take trips because we can just set aside everything that's happening at home and enjoy each other. What are distractions that keep you from your perfect family?
The fact that my dad isn't here affects me every day, whether I show it or not. How might your family play favorites?
Well, my grandma doesn't really play favorites. I mean, she still tries to baby me, but my aunts and uncles are all really the same. How would your family react if you or a sibling revealed their homosexuality?
Honestly, my family's pretty open with that kind of stuff. I've seen other families fall apart because of it, but I know mine wouldn't. Have you ever had to take art for your parents, and what was the outcome?
No, I've always been the baby. I mean, it's nice not having so many responsibilities, but I want to live, you know?
I think we can all agree that family is either the cause of or solution to an increase in a chaotic system.
January 31st, 2010. 16-year-old female. Subject found in a local youth group. What's your definition of family?
A group of people that love each other so much that they make sacrifices for each other. And who spend time with each other, so like if you're having a bad day, you can come back to them and vent.
How does your home life affect your schooling?
If I get pissed off by my sister or my dad, I'm pissed off for the rest of the day. But of course, when I'm pissed off, I do better at my schoolwork.
What is your relationship like with your parents?
Well, my mom and I are pretty close, but my dad and I don't get along at all. Because, like, he's a total ass. I mean, he slapped me and called me a bitch last week.
What was the time you had a problem but didn't tell anybody in your family?
Okay, well, look, sophomore year, I was dating this guy, and, like, okay, look, like, we were making out on the couch and stuff, and, like, he wanted to go farther, but I didn't want to go any farther, and, like, I told him to stop, but he wouldn't stop, and he was a lot bigger than me, so I couldn't get him off of me, but, I mean, I got him to stop. And it took a month and a half for me to tell anybody about it, and then 3 months for myself to tell my family. And I mean, I didn't tell him everything because, I mean, our parents are really close and stuff. And I mean, I trust him, not with that stuff.
Why does everyone think their family is strange?
I think because when you're with your family, most people feel a lot more comfortable, so they can really be who they are and express themselves in ways that they wouldn't be considered normal social norms, I guess. But when you're with your family, it doesn't matter if you're weird. And I don't think it's your family that's strange, but they're just acting normal. And they're just not conforming to society.
How does your family's line of authority work?
Okay, so my dad is pretty much in charge of everything, but my mom has a considerable sway in his opinions.
So like, the man is the head, but the woman is the neck. And she can turn the head any way she wants.
Exactly. See, my mom can put her opinions in, except for, like I said, my dad is the one in control. And if my dad wants something to happen, it's going to happen no matter what's going to happen. Like I came home from school the other day, and he gave me like 5 seconds to put my shoes on, and then he gave me like 3 hours worth of chores, and it didn't matter that I had an essay the next week, because his rules say that chores come before homework.
When your parents fight, how do you gauge your reactions for the rest of the day?
My parents have been fighting a lot more lately, but I try to avoid them. Normally when the fight is on the weekends, because that's the only time my dad's home. And I normally just go up to my room and blast some music, or like go for a walk barefoot or something, unless it's really hot or really cold.
It's like burning or freezing?
Yeah, see, I got blisters on my feet walking out when it's really hot. I just try to get out of there, or I just go into my own world, or I try to talk to my sister, but she just locks herself in her room and reads. She acts like nothing's wrong, and I know deep down that something really is. I mean, what's the time that you actually enjoyed the company of your family?
I think definitely when we go camping, because it's a lot more relaxed, you know? Except for my dad setting up camp and he's cussing, like bleepity bleep bleep. And then I'll be like, shut up, and I'll cuss, and he'll be like, well, what do you think you're doing? You're like, well, you just said it. But just when we're eating dinner, hanging out by the campfire, playing poker, because we're a lot more like a family like that.
A little off topic, but how does your dad cussing make you feel?
I really hate it, and I know my sister hates it even more, because I cuss, I admit it. I don't mean to, just sometimes I get really pissed off or I'm having a bad day and I can't help it. I've just been around him so much. He's like one of those people where if one tiny thing goes wrong, he'll like freak out. He was down in the basement the other day and he started freaking out and my dog came up and just wouldn't leave my side. And like my sister, she always says we can't cuss and, well, he'll go off cussing a storm. And I don't know, it's just like really hypocritical and I hate it.
Well, what are distractions that keep you from your perfect family?
Well, I think my whole dad's situation. He goes off to California every week on Monday and gets back every Thursday really late or Friday really late. And I think I'd just like to have him home more and see him more than 2 days a week. I'm really busy. I'm a really busy person, and my mom, she works so much. She won't come home until about 8 most days. Normally I cook dinner when I'm home because I know she's really stressed from work and my sister's just on the computer. So I try to do what I can do, and it's just lonely, because you don't, you just don't have that family feeling. Your sister's locked in the computer room, and you try to talk to her, and she ignores you because she's just trying to focus. And your mom doesn't get home till real late, your dad's in California, and you have your chores done, it's just lonely. I just want to get out, and that's why I do so many things with my friends, because my house doesn't feel like a home, Everyone dreams of the American dream, and everyone sees the perfect house in the suburbs, and you come home and your mom's cooking dinner, and your father comes home, and the kids are playing all together. And my home, it's just isn't homey, and there aren't knickknacks everywhere and stuff. My home just really doesn't feel like that, because no one is ever home, and I feel empty and lonely.
But you have, like, the parents, and they're still married, and you have a sister, and it's like...
Yeah, I mean, we have a nice house. Like a legit nice house. It's like $30,000. I mean, I'd rather live in an apartment if it felt more homey. Sometimes just like, I'm starting to think that this whole big nice house thing is a bad thing because it allows you to separate yourselves from your family. I mean, I'll be on the top floor, my mom's in the living room, my dad in the basement, and my sister always in the computer room. We just never see each other, Unless I walk downstairs and it's always, hey, what are you doing? Thanks. Getting something to eat. Oh, cool. Yeah, I guess I'll talk to you later. It's not a home, it's just a place where we stop and sleep, That's why I always go to my friend's house. How might your family play favorites?
Okay, so like, my sister is really smart, right? Like, everything comes naturally to her. Like, she doesn't work hard at school or anything. She gets pretty good grades. And like, on the ACT, she got like a 33. And on the plan test, she got in the 98th percentile. And I mean, I got in the 93rd percentile, but it was like, why didn't you get in the 98th percentile like your sister? And it's just like, sometimes I feel like they're playing favorites because they always compare me to my sister. And I feel like I really can't stand up to that. I mean, I get better grades than her, but not as natural. And at the same time, I feel like I'm more responsible than my sister. Because you see, well, okay, my sister's kind of scatterbrained. No, she's really scatterbrained. I mean, like, everything, so I often track her schedule. Like, when she has to work and stuff, I just keep track of my schedule, too. Well, the whole youngest child thing? Well, my sister is like the youngest child, even though I'm the youngest child, and whenever my sister and I get in fights, my parents are on their side. But it's like, that might just be me. And she might think that they're always on my side, but that might be me too, and I just think, I think your parents should compare you to yourself and not your sister.
How would your parents react if you or your sister revealed their homosexuality?
They'd probably kick me out of the house. Or my sister. Out of the house. I mean, you think I'm kidding, but they would kick me out of the house. My dad thinks that all gay people should go to hell. And I mean, I really like gay people. And that's just, it's
not just I think that, but I think it's right. I mean, well, I don't actually know what's right, but I honestly think that we shouldn't judge people based on who they have feelings towards.
Have you ever had to take over for your parents, and what was that like?
Well, I have to take over from my parents all the time. I mean, my dad's gone, I cooked dinner, and I'm a great cook. I am. Okay, I just grew up faster. Look, I'm more responsible, and it taught me to be able to take charge, but I think it makes my mom and dad feel less in charge, and I think it makes them feel like they have to assert their power over me because I help out more around the house and I'm more responsible. And I feel like that's how it should be until they think that that's how it should be until they make me feel bad because I don't think I get things done because, well, I'm always cooking for them.
Chaos. Now, extreme confusion or disorder. Chaotic. Chaos of families. All right, I'll give him that one. But it gets worse. Abuse. 1. To use wrongly. 2. To mistreat, especially by inflicting physical or sexual harm on. 3. To insult or revile. 4. Insulting language. To use wrongly.
Well,
honestly, my dad. Just because I've seen him do so much to my mom. Beat her, and I've had personal experience with it. But also my mom. She's thrown me into corners of walls and kicked me and hit me, given me fat lips and everything like that. If I saw somebody in trouble, I would try to help them out as much as I could. Because I know what it's like to go through abuse, and I would try to help them out any way possible. No one should have to go through abuse because most of the time, the victim didn't do anything wrong. I think it's both a learned behavior because my dad was very abusive towards my mom, and my brother has picked up habits of being rude and very mean and just all the traits that my dad used to have. But I also think it's innate because if you're angry, you just want to take out your anger in an abusive way, and that just might be part of your personality. And you feel like if you tell anybody, then you'll just get hurt more and like it's your fault. Yeah. You may always forgive, but you won't forget. It's just necessary to get on with your life. The extremes are when you land in the hospital or when you're dead. At the beginnings of the little things that will piss them off. The beginnings, I would have to say, was when my dad split my mom's lip open. That was the first major thing. And the extremes were threw her down the stairs, 6 months pregnant with me, and he threw a vacuum at her. I don't know, can you just skip that one? I try to help them and understand where they're coming from and know it because I've been there. I've been there when my dad was sitting on top of me, smacking me across the face and duct taping me to the floor. I knew when I was in this relationship, I never really had the chance to learn. I just knew I was in one. There's no justification for abuse. No abuse is right. Like, get beat out of them, like a physical and mental abuse, but I think of physical mostly.
Abuse. I think of vulnerability and hard times.
I would stop the abuse.
I think it's learned. There has to be a reason why they are the way they are. I don't think it's in your blood in any way whatsoever.
Envy. Cruelty. Hostility.
I think it's fear. The abuser is so afraid, like, I don't know, like, they just need to take it out on others.
Like, I'm bigger and you're smaller, so I'll show you.
I would stop it if I could. That's what she said to me.
I hear the world screaming out in pain. I can't shut it out. I try, but I'm going crazy with the voices in my head. So much pain. So much anger. So much fear. I wish I could wrap the whole world up in a blanket and just hold it, love it, sing it a lullaby. But I get too close, and it burns. It's a fire so hot that when I touch it, I don't even feel the heat, because it takes away my nerve endings. Flash burn. That's what the world is. It's one gigantic flash burn. I don't think we need to hear any more on this subject.
Music has many different fundamentals or elements. These include, but are not limited to, pitch, beat or pulse, rhythm, melody, harmony, texture, allocation of voices, timbre of color, expressive qualities, dynamics and articulation, form of structure. In addition to these fundamentals, there are other important concepts employed in both Western and non-Western cultures, including scales and or modes, or consonance versus dissonance. As noted, mathematics and music are strongly intertwined. The concept of pitch and temperament are both strongly tied into mathematics, and acoustics in particular. Analysis often takes a mathematical route. Musical set theory and transformational theory are both steeped into mathematics. Some methods of composition are mathematically based. Yannis Xenakis developed several methods using stochastic methods. The French school of spectral music uses mathematical analysis of sound to develop compositional materials. You see, it's all related. It's all relatable. It's all relationships.
How do you determine like versus love?
Love is people closer to your circle, and like is people just outside of that circle. Love is more personal.
What's a wrong relationship?
People who don't treat each other with respect and kindness.
What's the most common myth about relationships?
I don't know. That love is romantic, that it's something ordinary, that it's always there and lasts a long time.
What is so wrong with being alone?
Nothing. But it's nice to have that someone.
Notice the pattern in which the bubbles float down through the space they inhabit. To the unintelligent observer, one might see only chaotic movement of water through space. But because we are more than the average person, we see that the movement of the bubbles is affected by the current of energy with which I'm producing. This flapping affects the bubbles much in the same manner as the butterfly affects the currents which create the energy, which thusly creates the hurricanes. See, it's all about relationships. Or, as I like to call it, relatable relevance with concurrent proximity, counterbalance. Oh, hell, sure looks pretty, doesn't it?
What was the funniest thing that happened to you in a relationship?
Next question.
How do you determine like versus love?
Yeah, next question.
What relationship was the one that impacted you the most, and how has that affected your decision making?
My relationship with God. It makes me want to make decisions based off of whether or not they will bring me closer to Him.
What is a wrong relationship?
I don't think there is such thing as a wrong relationship. You either have a good relationship or a bad one. Two people can hate each other, but that doesn't make it wrong. It's still a relationship.
What's the most common myth about relationships?
That they have to be serious.
What's so wrong with being alone?
Well, sometimes alone time is really good to have. But often we don't experience the love that we should in our own homes, so it compels us to surround ourselves with friends, girlfriends, etc.
How does what your friends think of you differ from what you think of yourself?
I don't know. My friends might think that I'm more of a laid-back kind of person, but in reality I do have opinions and beliefs about lots of things.
How do you change your persona around different people?
I try to remain constant, even when I'm around different kinds of people. I want to be someone that will be remembered as transparent, no matter who I'm around.
What would cause you to break a relationship?
When it becomes more drama than fun.
If you stop loving someone, where does the love go?
What kind of a question is that? That's like asking where your lap goes when you stand up.
How do you know if you've made a true friend?
If they remain loving you in the same way, no matter what either of you go through.
What obstacles are there in maintaining a relationship?
You have to be able to talk to each other. The best way to approach that is by simply being honest in everything you do and not hiding anything.
What was the funniest thing that happened with you in a relationship?
Watching myself grow up with a person. How we always stayed the same with each other.
How do you feel like, determined, like versus love?
You feel love.
What kind of relationship has impacted you the most? How does that affect your decision making?
Family relationships, because I want to make them proud.
What's a wrong relationship?
When you're forced to be with someone.
What's the most common myth about relationships?
I think it would have to be love at first sight.
What's so wrong with being alone?
Nothing. I feel it's good for the mind every once in a while.
How do your friends, what your friends think of you differ from what you think of yourself?
They think I'm very negative. Really, I'm not at all. I'm just misunderstood.
So then how do you change your persona with different people?
If I dislike someone, I don't act mean towards them. Just very, very casual.
What would cause you to break a relationship?
I think someone betraying my trust or cheating on me.
If you stop loving someone, where does the love go?
Well, that depends on how the two people feel.
How do you know if you've made a true friend?
You call their mom and dad, mom and dad.
What obstacles are there in maintaining a relationship?
Maybe hobbies that counteract each other.
Last interview. This is, well, name isn't important. He's 24. What's the funniest thing that's ever happened with you in a relationship?
Well, my high school sweetheart took me on this really romantic date to this lake that me and my friends went to a lot. We got a boat, went jet skiing, and then I fell off really hard and lost my bathing suit. Oh gosh. Well, I had to tell her before she pulled me up. She was almost as embarrassed as me.
How do you determine like versus love?
Like is honestly based on the surface of a person. What they look like, how their personalities match with yours. Love is this burning feeling that you feel in your chest when you're around them. It's addicting, almost like your own personal drug.
So what type of relationship has impacted you the most, and how does that affect your decisions?
Well, I'm married now, so that's good. I make a lot of decisions based on what's good for us as a whole instead of just myself. You really have to make sacrifices and commitments you weren't originally used to.
So what's a wrong relationship?
A wrong relationship is like I was telling you earlier, where people stay in the like stage, where they convince themselves into thinking they're in love when they're really not.
So what's the most common myth about relationships?
Myth? I guess that a healthy relationship leads to a healthy marriage. A lot of my friends were dating in high school, got married, and now are happily divorced.
So what's so wrong with being alone?
Nothing's wrong with being alone. It just gets lonely.
How does what your friends think of you differ from what you think of yourself?
Any friends who really know me know what I think of myself, and the comparisons aren't that much different.
So do you change your persona with different people?
Pretty much the same, I think.
What would cause you to break a relationship?
If we were fighting more than loving, more stressed than it needs to be.
If you stop loving someone, where does the love go?
You can't stop loving someone. If you said you stopped loving someone, that's equivalent to saying you never loved them at all.
How do you know if you've made a true friend?
If they stay with you even when the situation gets sticky for them.
So what obstacles are there in maintaining a relationship?
There shouldn't be any obstacles, it should just happen. But what is chaos except for a mathematical problem?
Math? Shh. You can prove anything with math.
Exactly. Listen. You hear that?
No.
Music. Faint, but yes. Definitely there.
So what?
Music is a mathematical composition, just as chaos is anything else. Broken down to the most simplistic fractal version of a single note, or even the initial tone in which that note is based on.
This is all well and good, but what have we learned?
I never expected to find out so much of what I didn't know.
Coming into this process, I was very nervous. But to overcome that nervousness, I just acted like it was a normal conversation.
I started thinking a lot about the differences of how people were raised changed their opinions.
You don't come up with everything you know by yourself. It has a lot to do with your family and who you choose as friends.
I saw that the people that hurt them really affected them the most, and strangely enough, the older people got, the more open they seemed to be with the hardships they had and the things they regret.
I guess the hardest thing for me to learn was that everyone can change and everyone is different.
Would you say this process has been beneficial?
I would like to say that this has been an enlightening experience, but I can't.
This process was very frustrating for me. I mean, sure, there were some interesting and touching moments, but for the most part, the time crunch was just intense.
Although, I can't wait to see what the outcome looks like.
I think that they helped me and possibly the project by discovering human behavior. The topics of abuse, family dynamics, self-doubt, they're tough subjects and people didn't want to talk about them as much.
I'm normally not a person that asks a lot of deep personal questions. I normally make normal conversation about school, homework, sports, whatever. Being thrown out of my comfort zone into that situation where I had to ask those deep personal questions really made me see who people really are and what they really believe.
This interview process opened my eyes to how different a family can be, even if they live just next door.
Throughout this process, I expected to get lousy information, nothing that could be used for the script. I didn't even know if the interviews would go well.
We were afraid to dig.
Out of the people that I interviewed, there was 2 16-year-old girls, a 16-year-old boy, and an 18-year-old boy. That's probably why I didn't get anything very deep.
But on one particular interview, the person next just stopped answering so that they were uncomfortable with these questions.
I don't know. We really dragged our feet.
Well, give them some credit. If you're straight up and honest with your intentions, you'd be surprised when you can get back.
So,
People are just like you.
You hear it now?
Hear it now.
So, as we conclude this little experiment into the nature of chaos, what did we learn?
that people are crazy.
That music is essentially math.
That people are people, living in a system of chaos, and really trying to make it through their day.
Precisely. Who wants to go get ice cream?
Start with a dot. This dot is you. Then add to it another dot. Perhaps the person to your right. Then add another. Perhaps the person to your left. Then add another and another until you've created a line. Add another line, and another until you've created an image. A group of millions of dots coming together to create a community of dots. These dots are your community, your system, a system of chaos, order within disorder. All of this came from our community. Art reflects the community in which it inhabits. What is seen or heard or sculpted or painted or performed is a reflection. Turn the mirror back on yourself. See what art sees.